JM and the AM. It is a Monday morning broadcast. If there was one small silver lining to the horrible tragedy of Bondi Beach down in Australia, it was that we got to establish a friendship with Linda Royal, who's with us live via telephone. Linda's in Australia. She is the author of a brand new book entitled The Star on the Grave. It is available on Amazon, both in audiobook and paperback format. Again, it's called The Star on the Grave, the incredible true story of the Japanese diplomat Sugihara, who defied his government to save thousands from the Nazis. It is now an award-winning historical novel. And again, it's called The Star on the Grave, available now. Linda Royal, a pleasure to welcome you back to JM and the AM.
Good morning. Well, good morning for you. For me, it's it's witching hour. I should be asleep.
It's almost 11 p.m. where you are, right?
Yeah, it's 10:35.
Unbelievable. Anyway, you're live, and we're in the New York, New Jersey area, and of course, it's early morning for us. And I didn't realize when you wrote the book, and obviously it's such an important book because it gives everyone such a great perspective of history, a very important episode of history. I did not realize that you owe your life essentially to Sugihara.
I do. He issued Japanese transit visas to my father, who was then 11, and his parents, my grandparents, in 1940 as they were fleeing Poland into Lithuania, and 6,000 others. And so I'm alive because of him. So are my siblings and so are my children. So I decided to dedicate my life to perpetuating his memory, just like Schindler got the chance. So I thought, well, I'm going to make my guy a household name as well.
From Lithuania, your father went where?
So they had transit visas to Japan. So they took the Trans-Siberian Railway across to Vladivostok and a boat across to Japan. And there was already a well-established little Jewish community in Kobe. And they were there for 6 to 8 months. And then the Joint Distribution Committee from New York, as they always do, reached out and tried to get all these refugees to find their relatives worldwide and help them get out to safety because the Japanese wanted them out because they knew they were going to bomb Pearl Harbor and they didn't want foreigners around. So by July of 1941 or August, they were all cleared out.
And he went from there to the U.S.?
No. So my family came to Australia because I don't know why, because unfortunately I never got a chance to ask them, but my grandmother had 2 brothers who had already settled in Sydney in 1936. They were in Paris because you weren't allowed as a Jew to study at Warsaw University, and one was studying accounting and one was studying medicine. So they were in Paris, and they must have seen the writing on the wall,
right? And
they decided to emigrate as far away as possible.
No, I get it. When you said the joint, I thought maybe they ended up in the U.S., but they went from Japan to Australia. Linda Royal is with us live via telephone. The book is called The Star on the Grave. How do you assess trying to tell a true historical episode, right, and an important one, Sugihara, a household name for many of us, and at the same time, you're writing, what many would say is a fictional novel. You're sort of intertwining both. How do you go about putting this project together?
Yeah, so that was a discussion for me with the publishers. And so what we did was we have the true story of Sugihara weaved through in a parallel narrative with my family's story partially fictionalized because I wanted, with a creative license to make it as dramatic and entertaining as possible, because entertaining stories are the ones that resonate and they're the ones that get out there. I mean, part of Schindler was fictional as well. And then people can do their own research and work out what was truth and what was fiction. But I've actually got the truth weaved through anyway, so it's got a dual function.
Oh, I'm not in any way criticizing. I just think it's an amazing process to do both at the same time. To intertwine.
Yeah, it was interesting to do.
And you claim that today, over 500,000 people can claim they're alive because of Sugihara. Is that a fairly accurate statistic?
You know what? It varies. Some people say somewhere between 250,000 and 500,000. It's very difficult to estimate. He saved the entire Mir Yeshiva. They were about 300 students, and many of them went to the US, and obviously they were rabbis,
Right.
and so
And they
you
had
know, they had very large
right.
families.
Right. I was just going to say, had large families, and their kids had large families. So when
Yeah.
you put it all together, 250,000 to 500,000, somewhere in there certainly makes sense. It's called The Star on the Grave. Linda Royal is with us live via telephone. It's her book, The Incredible True Story of Sugihara, defying his government and saving thousands of Jews from the Nazis. It's now an award-winning historical novel, again called The Star on the Grave. And why do we call it The Star on the Grave?
You have to read the book.
You got it. You got it. That's fair. That's fair. But if one would read it, it would make total sense, right?
It will, yes, it will be revealed. But I mean, look, it's basically the journey of a version of me, which isn't me. Well, you know, it's
right.
got elements of me.
The fictional you, the fictional you.
Yeah. A 21-year-old girl, and has a fierce bond with her grandmother, and secrets and her heritage that had been concealed from her, and that's not a spoiler because you find that out pretty quickly,
right.
Cause her to go and search for meaning, search for her heritage, and a journey back to faith and culture, and her grandmother and her go back to thank the man to whom they owe their lives.
Wow, pretty amazing. All right, a lot of people in this audience, first of all, love nonfiction, and certainly nonfiction that applies to our community. And there are plenty of people in this audience that enjoy a great story, a great novel. So you have it all, everybody. You have it all intertwined together in Linda Royal's brand new book entitled The Star on the Grave. It's available on Amazon, which means both audiobook and paperback for those in this area, Linda. They can get it, right?
Yes, and ebook. So Kindle, ebook, paperback, and audio. Or they can, if people can go into a bookstore and say, there's a brand new book out called The Star on the Grave. Could you order it in? And you can order it. You can tell the bookstores they can order it through Ingram Spark. That's the place. Ingram Spark is the outlet that is going to be distributing to bookstores. So any of your favorite bookstores. That would be fantastic for me because it's a small publisher because, of course, with the anti-Semitism, it took me 2 years to actually attract a publisher. In fact, I had one US publisher say to me, maybe if you remove the Star of David from the front cover, you may have more success.
Oh, wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I said, no, thank you.
Yeah, Sugihara wouldn't have approved of that, frankly.
No.
Can't wish you anything other than the best of luck with this book, Linda. I think it's it's one that I look forward to reading because it's got such an important story, and as I said, such a wonderful historical account of one of the most important episodes and personalities, frankly, in Jewish history, even if he wasn't Jewish himself. The book is called The Star on the Grave. And now we turn to you, and obviously, we know what happened on Hanukkah down in Australia. We had the opportunity to speak to you as you and so many people were in a state of shock and despair and grief. And now, obviously, it's a couple of months later. What can you tell us about how the Jewish community is responding and rebounding from Bondi Beach?
So, look, it's weird because we do feel a groundswell of support from the local community. And as I've said to people having processed it, there were 3 Chabad Hanukkah celebrations going on. There was one across the road from me. There was one down in a shul 2-3 minutes away. And then there was the one at Bondi Beach about 5 minutes down the road. Right. If it would have taken place at any of the others, it would have just been a few dead Jews in some suburb no one's ever heard of. Right. But because it was at Bondi Beach, and it was iconic Bondi Beach, and unfortunately non-Jews also were killed, and the community down there was so involved, it became an Australian story as much as a Jewish Australian story. Therefore, we have shocked them because they don't know about massacre and about being killed for your religion. Right. So, for us, it's part of our history. And so they've really they've been very tender, and we've had this overwhelming support. By the same token, it's horrendous because, I mean, especially the publishing industry, the writers' festivals are so overrun with Palestinians that there was a festival where they asked one Palestinian author to withdraw from the festival because it was too insensitive following Bondi, and she protested wildly. Now, this is she promotes Intifada. She changed her profile picture on her social media to a paraglider going over to Israel on October 8th.
Yeah,
and
October 7th.
180 authors supported her. Caucasians, not even Arab Palestinians. They supported her and they withdrew, and the whole festival collapsed because of it.
Unbelievable. If you don't mind, I'm going to read to my audience the paragraph that you have in the book that describes Bondi Beach so that people get Here's what you wrote. The book is called The Star on the Grave, and Linda, obviously, in addition to the story that she's telling, with the story being based in Australia, says the following, which I think gives everybody a perspective about how important an area this is to the Jewish community down there. Rachel loves spending weekends at the glistening shores of that well-attended stretch of coastline, even in the mild winter months, the powdery sand between her toes, the slap of a frothy, salty wave against her parched skin that tingles and refreshes. She momentarily ponders on the significance of this place for her contemporaries, a veritable melting pot of all ethnicities. She's met Greeks and Italians, Russians, Slovaks, members of the small Jewish community who she's often heard fondly referring to the steps that divide the promenade into two as Little Jerusalem. Most, like her, first-generation Australians, children of wartime refugees who found the beach provided comfort, safety, and a place to gather and belong with their own. And that final sentence really says it, Linda, because that's the impression you gave us and a lot of people worldwide who weren't familiar with Bondi Beach, that there was a certain comfort, safety, and just an innocent gathering place that it had become for our community. And obviously all that was lost on Hanukkah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my grandparents settled in Bondi Beach in 1941 and then all the refuseniks came post World War II, and all the Jewish community embraced it because, well, it was working class and it was cheap and accessible, but it also had this magnificent beach where they just, in my second book, which I've just written and I've just given to the publisher for consideration, I've got my grandmother arriving in 1941, going into the ocean, spreading her arms, and I've literally written 3 weeks before this massacre, I finished writing this, and I had written, she spreads her arms in the ocean and says, "It feels like freedom."
Wow.
And then this happened, and, so it's completely overwhelming for us.
Look, you've been able to paint that picture for us. Overwhelming is right. And the immediate jarring pain of the initial days, I guess, is fading away. But the grief is going to last forever in some way, shape, or form with what the community went through down there. Linda Royal speaking to us from Australia, folks. The book is called The Star on the Grave. We are highly recommending it. You can go to Amazon, available at ebooks, audiobooks, paperback. It'll hopefully be in your Judaica stores as well, and bookstores in general, hopefully. The Star on the Grave, Linda Royal. Check it out. It is a good Yontif read, and will give you quite a perspective of one of the most important personalities and episodes in the history of our people. Linda, thanks so much for joining us. Mazal Tov on the book. I hope it's a great success.
Thank you. All I can say is that it doesn't take many sales for it to go right to number one on Amazon, especially in Jewish literature. It only takes maybe 30 or 40 books to be bought. So if everyone can buy just one book, it does represent the story of an exodus. So it is very apt for Yom Tov coming up.
Very good. I like that angle. Very good.
See, I'm ex-advertising, so I find every angle.
I like that. Hey, if we're talking about the holiday of freedom, your father experienced it firsthand.
Absolutely.
No question about it. God bless you. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a wonderful Yontif. Thank you.
Thank you, and you too. Thank you so much for having me on.
Linda's got to wrap it up after all, folks. It's almost 11 p.m. for her down in Australia. Always hard for us to fathom that as we sit here on a Monday morning. Plenty more coming up. It is a Monday at JM in the AM.